And then the other genre that was very popular at the time and really fed into the Cold War mentality was the sci-fi movie, giant ants that, became giant because of nuclear bombs. Keep in mind we had dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and really, I don't think we realized what the ramifications truly would be at the time. And these kind of movies really fed into that. Of course, when the Russian satellite went over America was a huge thing. Everyone held their breath. They thought they were going to bomb us. So let's take a look at this clip.
I bring you a warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world. Tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies, everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.
The atomic age ushered in the first great age of movie science fiction.
When you come to the Second World War, you've got a very specific enemy. You know what that enemy is. It's there for all the wrong reasons, and it should be prevented, okay? Then you've got the next phase, which is the Cold War, again, which is to do with paranoia, but I think real. It's real. Movies started to nip into that.
I don't know if all of you have ever heard of the Rosenberg trials, but certainly they were people living here in the States, someone's neighbor. So people really weren't very trusting. There was a lot of distrust going on because anyone could be that Ruski spy or commie or red or whatever. Of course, this was also the time of the House Un-Americans Activities Committee, not exactly a shining moment in our history. Another gimmick, if you will, that the studios tried to use to lure people back into theaters was widescreen. And here we have The Robe, which was the first successful American widescreen movie done in CinemaScope. And it used anamorphic lenses both on the camera and on the projector. On the camera to squeeze the image smaller, and then on the projector rather to unsqueeze it. And this worked really well. They filmed a lot of biblical epics with this type of photography. And on these huge, grand, cast 1,000 scenes, it worked great. But for close-ups, not so flattering. But definitely something to compete with television. And then we also have Cinerama, and this is the larger clip is actually from the movie This is Cinerama, and inside it is a frame from High Noon, and you can see that the difference in aspect ratio and size is just phenomenal. And Cinerama, they literally use 3 cameras to film and 3 projectors to project, which made it wide. I don't know if any of you have ever been to LA. They have the Cinerama Dome up on Sunset Boulevard, and not that many movies were made in true Cinerama. Now, Cinerama, although we're talking about it in the context of the 50s, was not entirely a new invention. Abel Gance, who was someone who was way head and shoulders above his time, also experimented early on in 1927 when he made Napoleon. This is the forerunner to Cinerama. Let's take a look.
Il est évident qu'à partir du moment où j'ai senti cette possibilité, je me suis dit qu'il y avait là un nouvel alphabet pour le cinéma.
All right, so as we see, the forerunner to Cinerama back in 1927, Napoleon actually was restored and toured the country in the 80s, if you were anyone was lucky enough to see it then. But Abel Gance, someone who was just so ahead of his time. And then there are many other widescreen technologies. Every studio had their own proprietary one. Of course, Cinerama, very expensive, 3 projectors, couldn't just be played in any movie theater. CinemaScope, VistaVision, which was Hitchcock's choice of widescreen, Technorama, Tadeo, Superscope. There's also a little website here if you want to do more research. But here's the thing. The studios don't own the theaters anymore, and you're a theater owner. How many projectors are you supposed to have to accommodate all these different formats? So it really wasn't hitting until Panavision. Now, Panavision had no alliance to any studio. They were an independent, and they're an equal opportunity renter. To this day, you cannot buy a Panavision camera. You have to rent them. And, of course, give them a certificate of insurance. But it was Panavision that cements the future of widescreen by standardizing it and allowing MGM, Warner Brothers, Columbia, whoever, to rent from them to make their movies. So this, again, just to cement it in your heads, Panavision cements the future of widescreen and revolutionizes the movie industry in so doing. To summarize Lecture 4, World War II was good for the film industry and made the years 45 to 46 the most profitable of all time. The film industry really aligned itself with the war effort and on just about every front. And then we have the Consent Decree of 1948 that forced the studios to sell off their movie theaters and was a very dark day in the life of the movie moguls. And then in an effort to lure audiences back into the theaters, the movie industry tries many gimmicks such as 3D, drive-in theaters, and a variety of widescreen formats. We also talked about film noir as well as early sci-fi movies were a byproduct of the Cold War and the atomic age and fed into Americans' paranoia. We talked about teen movies were made to accommodate the baby boomers that were born after World War II. And of course, Panavision eventually cements the success of the widescreen format. And that concludes Lecture 4.